Now starts with breaking news.
42 charges divided among 9 former government officials who are facing charges tonight in connection with the Flint Water Crisis. These charges coming 18 months after the Attorney General's office dismissed all criminal charges in the water case back in 2019. 9 people facing charges, all appearing in Genesee County Court for arraignment this morning, including former Governor Rick Snyder. He faces 2 misdemeanor willful neglect of duty charges. He's free on $20,000 bond, $10,000 on each count. To remain free, he will have to attend all court proceedings that he is involved in. Former Chief Medical Executive Dr. Eden Wells and former MDHHS Director Nick Lyon each face 9 felony counts of involuntary manslaughter. If convicted, they could get 15 years and or a $7,500 fine on each count. They each face 1 misdemeanor neglect of duty count. And Eden Wells faces 2 misconduct in office counts. Both are due back in court February 18th. The state is charging Flint Public Works Director Howard Croft in this investigation. He faces 2 counts of willful neglect of duty and could get a year behind bars and or a $1,000 fine. Also facing felony charges tonight, Nancy Peeler, who was with the MDHHS, and former Flint emergency managers Gerald Ambrose and Darnell Early. They all face multiple misconduct in office charges, each carrying penalties up to 5 years in prison. And Governor Snyder's former communications director, Jarrett Agan, and former advisor, Rich Baird, face perjury charges and up to 15 years in a lockup. We have team coverage on this breaking news out of Flint tonight. Anchor Stephanie Parkinson has the latest on the investigation. Reporter Bria Jones talked with a mother who lost a loved one during the water crisis. And reporter Remy Murray has reaction from Flint residents. Stephanie kicks off our coverage tonight. And Steph, there are lots of questions around how these charges came down.
Yeah, you know, Dave, it's not how we're used to seeing criminal charges filed in the state of Michigan, through a grand jury. And it wasn't even the kind of grand jury people are probably thinking of in their minds right now. This was a 1-person grand jury, and the juror was a judge. But the lead lawyers on the Attorney General's water crisis investigation team say that this will save time and money for taxpayers in the state of Michigan. It has been a year and a half, I think you just mentioned that, since the State Attorney General's Solicitor General Fadwa Hammoud announced that all charges would be dropped in the Flint water crisis. Now, she is fulfilling her promise she made to the people of Flint back in 2019 by announcing these new criminal charges against these 9 former government employees and elected leaders. Now, some of the charges that just came down in the water crisis investigation, though, carry 15-year prison sentences, like involuntary manslaughter, charges that former Health Chief Nick Lyon and former medical executive Eden Wells face, but others carry little to no time behind bars, including that willful neglect of duty charge that the former governor Rick Snyder's facing. And many people in Flint still want to see him go to prison. Hammoud said they followed the evidence, but also appear to have an open mind going forward.
As it proceeds through the court system, new evidence may come to light, or new witnesses may come forward. So while our focus now is on prosecuting these cases, we won't neglect any need for further investigation.
Now, the steps going forward in this are also a bit unconventional. Normally, facing a felony charge, you'd be down the street at the district courthouse for the proceedings, but because of this grand jury, those with felonies in the Flint water crisis case are going right to the circuit court in downtown Flint. Now, Hammoud says that that really could speed up the judicial process in this case. Live from downtown Flint, Stephanie Parkinson, Mid-Michigan Now.
Thank you, Stephanie. Snyder's lawyer, Brian Lennon, made it clear today that the former governor is pleading not guilty to charges, saying, quote, "It would be a travesty to waste additional taxpayer dollars pursuing these bogus misdemeanor charges. We are confident Governor Snyder will be fully exonerated if this flimsy case goes to trial. Today's charges do nothing to bring justice to the people of Flint. These unjustified allegations do nothing to resolve a painful chapter in the history of our state." Willie & Chamberlain law firm representing Nick Lyon also saying Lyon is not guilty. Their statement reads in part, he did not make the decision to switch the water supply and had nothing to do with the handling of the water. Everything he did as director of the MDHHS, he did based on the advice of highly trained epidemiologists and public health scientists and experts who themselves were looking at the science and following the data. You can find the complete list of those facing charges as well as the charges in the Flint Water Crisis investigation right now on our website, midmichigannow.com. A 2018 report showed that the cost of the Flint Water Crisis had already exceeded $30 million in legal fees. That does not include the current cost and new charges. Many say the cost of this investigation is just too much and taxpayers should be outraged. Others have said that money could have went to Flint residents who were victims of the crisis, like the $641 million settlement that's still on the table right now. There's still no decision. An update is expected on that by January 21st. Team coverage, it continues tonight. Mid-Michigan Now's Remy Murray joins us live from downtown Flint, where she's been talking to Flint residents who have been voicing their frustrations about the charges. Remy, what's their reaction to this news?
You know, Dave, the news people have been waiting on for months had some people feeling, and they're telling me that they feel as if their lives do not matter. Flint resident Melissa Mills tells me she isn't surprised the charges happened as they did, but originally she had hoped that this time would be different, and it's sad to see that it didn't happen. Now, she believes the penalties should be more harsh and those responsible shouldn't get away with the damage they're continuing to cause. May says she's pleased with the people who are currently facing charges, but says there are some missing and believes their names need to be added for their alleged inactions due to this crisis.
Looking at how Governor Snyder, the man who took unilateral control over our city and had to sign off on every single decision, is only getting slapped with a misdemeanor that he's looking at up to a year in jail or a $1,000 fine, that tells us that our bodies are only worth 1 penny.
Now, coming up at 10 and 11, hear what else Mays is asking for Flint residents to do to demand better for their community. But for now, live here in Flint, Remy Murray, Mid-Michigan Now.
Coming up at 6:15, Mid-Michigan Now's Bria Jones talks to a woman who lost a child to the disease that state officials say are facing charges for. And for everything regarding the Flint water crisis, dating back to the water source switch to the current court cases and charges, head to midmichigannow.com and search Flint Water Woes.